Time for a discussion on the evolution and distribution of galaxies. This is from chapter 28. We're going to talk about how it is that we use light to learn about very distant galaxies and galaxies that existed very long ago. Astronomy is time travel. Studying astronomy is time travel. And discuss the evidence that the galaxies that we are looking at formed when the universe was extremely young. So, Hubble long exposure image. This image was made during 70 orbits of the Earth, looking at a very tiny piece of the sky in the direction of the constellation Sculptor. And so what we're looking at is Abell 2744. That is the white-ish or lighter colored galaxies in the foreground. It's kind of hard for you to tell that they're in the foreground until I explain all of this, but so this is galaxies that are 3.5 billion light years away. So remember, light left the star, the galaxy, and travels for 3.5 billion years. In the intervening time, the galaxy over here changes, but the light, it doesn't show us how things are changing. It shows us the moment the light left. So if it takes 3 billion years for the light to arrive, we are looking at something that is 3 billion years old. So we're looking back into time. Then, little sneak peek, we're going to talk about gravitational lensing towards the end of the chapter. But in this image, we also see a lot of what appear to be much smaller galaxies that are blue. Those are not necessarily smaller. What they are is about 12 billion light years away. The light from those galaxies gets lensed by Abell 2744. We'll talk about how this happens. And so they actually appear brighter than they should because more light is arriving at us. But they are 12 billion years old. Looking at a very distant galaxy. The tiny little orangish red dot at the end of the white arrow in this image is a luminous galaxy with a redshift Z equals 8.68. That means that light has been traveling for 13.2 billion light years, for 13.2 billion years. So that galaxy is 13.2 billion light years away from us. If we look at the Spitzer image down here at the bottom inset that's, red, yellow, and orange, the red portion here is from this particular galaxy, very strong emission line of hydrogen, which makes sense because 13.2 billion years ago, the stars would have been very young. You have to remember, our universe is only 13.4-ish, maybe 5 billion years old. So now we are looking at an image from the Hubble Ultra Deep Field. This is the result of an 11-day Hubble observation. So there's only a couple of Milky Way stars in here. You can tell stars in these Hubble Ultra Deep Field and Deep Field images because they have the points, the diffraction that makes the little cross on that star. Everything else in this image is a galaxy. Approximately 10,000 images or objects in this image. The spiral galaxies are very colorful. You see some that are, blue and purple, and some that look like they are multiple colors. Ellipticals in this image are mostly red, Remember, elliptical galaxies are mostly older stars. And then there's a large variety of weirdly shaped galaxies from collisions. So let's talk about collisions a little bit. Here we're looking at another Hubble image with galaxy under construction. There are several objects in this image that aren't numbered. They are all tiny galaxies. Most of them are, about 2,000 light years across. Remember, the Milky Way is 100,000 light years across. They are in a region of space that's only about 2 million light years across. So in the intervening time, and because they seem to be gravitationally attracted to each other, they probably have collided and merged into a single galaxy. But because we are looking at them 11 billion years ago, what we see is, the elliptical galaxy under construction, all the tiny little parts that will come together eventually to make an elliptical. So once again, Able 2744, we're going to continue looking at this image because there is so much information in this image, so many different things that it demonstrates. As I said, it gravitationally lenses the light of objects farther away, and so we see 3 little squares in this image. In the center of each of those squares is a galaxy that emitted its light when the universe was only about 500 million years old. The galaxy is very tiny, only about 850 light years across. But what I'm demonstrating here is that, stars were forming and galaxies were forming when the universe was a 10th, a 20th, extremely early in the formation of our universe. So how do galaxies merge? Well, we are going to have to break that off into a separate video because I know that there's a bunch to talk about in there, and I'm trying to keep these videos less than 10 minutes long. So I will be right back.